Hello again. Welcome to the video on finding the nth term. Basically what this is if you have a pattern of numbers, like for instance I've got this pattern here where the terms are listed as 6, 7, 8, 9. These are the numbers for the terms, like what order they come in, like maybe this is the 6th number, the 7th number, the 8th number, the 9th number, so on and so forth. This is going to be the 50th number in the sequence. Those particular numbers are 20, 18, 16, and 14. These are called the function values, okay? Basically, this is some sort of, it's a lot like the equation of a line, okay? Basically, when you were given lines in Algebra 1, let's do that. But if this is your xy axis, maybe this is your line here. You know that this line has some sort of an equation. It's got a positive slope. But you can give it any value of x, and for any one of these values of x, it tells you what y is. Like if you put in an x of, say, 10, it tells you what y equals at that time. This is kind of the same deal, okay? Where instead, I say put in one of these n's, and it's this function, this value, this machine, this operation of sorts. This function is going to spit out a value. When you plug in 6, it gives you 20. When you plug in 7, it gives you 18. When you plug in 8, it gives you 16. Okay? That's what this does. My question is, what happens when you plug in 50? That's what I want to know. And yeah, I know you could count down until you got to 50, but it would take you a really long time. Especially if this number wasn't 50, but instead 500. So we're going to develop ourselves a rule to get that really easily. Let's see how that's done. Alright, so the first step is to find the difference in your function values. How much are these f of n's going up or down? Well, you see the pattern pretty clearly. 20, 18, 16, 14, it's going down 2 each time. 20 minus 2 is 18, minus 2, minus 2. The first thing you want to do is go ahead and write that difference down for yourself. That's my first one. Write down the difference. Did it go up, did it go down, and by how much? And in this case, my difference, which I'm going to abbreviate DIFF, is -2. Your second step is to pick any one of these n's. It does not matter which one. I usually go with the first one or the lowest one, the one closest to 0, because it usually ends up making my example easier, okay? So I'm going to pick one of these n's, I don't care. I'll go with 6. And then the f of n that goes with it, the function value. This is like the input. When you give it 6, it gives you 20. So my f of n is automatically 20. Alright, those first 2 steps are pretty easy. Here comes the actual work that you have to do. Step 3. Now there's a formula, and this formula is f of n, the function value, is equal to the difference times n plus c, which is some constant. Okay? We're going to solve for that c. We're going to find out. Because right now, if I just do -2 times 6, it gives me -12, and that's not what I want. Okay? There's some adjustment factor. I have to do something after that to get to 20. So let's see. I'm going to plug in these values into that equation. I said f of n was 20, so I'm going to put a 20 right here. I said the difference was -2, so I'm going to put a -2 right here. And I said n was 6, so I'm going to multiply this -2 by 6. You can put the parentheses around it if you want. I'm just going to put a dot there for multiplication. And then I bring down my plus c. After you've done this, this is an easy equation to solve. Let's simplify this part first. -2 times 6. I'm going to bring this down. -2 times 6 is -12. I bring everything else down. All I did was simplify the -2 times 6 into -12. Everything else just came down with it. So I want this c alone, and I've only got one more step to solve for it. I'm adding a -12 to it. Since this 12 is negative, I do its opposite. Instead of subtracting 12 here, I add 12 to this, and I add 12 to this. -12 plus 12 is 0, that's gone. 20 plus 12 is 32. And that equals c. Now I found it. My fourth step is really easy. I'm going to write the rule right in here. Okay? This is going to be the rule that generates all these numbers. So the rule to do this is f of n, which I have here. I'm going to write down the difference. I'm going to plug in the difference. I'm going to plug in c. I'm going to leave n alone. So this is going to say the difference times n. Well, the difference is -2 times n, and then plus my c, plus 32. And that's the rule. Leave n out of it. Don't actually plug n in. because the difference never changes and c never changes, but as you can see, n can have many different values. And for each of those different values, it has a different f of n. That's why we don't plug those in. So now this works. Let's check it. If I plug in a 6 here, negative 2 times 6 is negative 12, negative 12 plus 32 is 20. And that should have made sense because we just used those numbers. If I plug in a 7, negative 2 times 7 is negative 14, negative 14 plus 32 is 18. Negative 2 times 8 is negative 16, negative 16 plus 32 is positive 16. Negative 2 times 9 is negative 18, negative 18 plus 32 is positive 14. So it works. And you don't have to check it for everyone, but check it for one or two of them. If it works, you're probably in good shape. Let's see how it works when I plug in 50. So, same deal. Negative 2 times the n, well in this case n is 50. Negative 2 times 50 is negative 100. Negative 100 plus 32 happens to be negative 68. And I'm done. That's it. I figured out what the nth term in this case was. Nth means like some numbered term. I'm not sure which one it is. It stands for any term. Like this is my 6th term, my 7th term, my 8th term, my 9th term. This is my 50th term. If I listed numbers going down 2 each time, well, the 50th one would be negative 68. If I started with the 6th term being 20. So that's that. Let's try one more. I've got another example on the board. Let me move the computer so you guys can see what I'm doing. There we go. Let's move it up a little bit. Okay, same idea, same steps. Very first thing I want to do, I should probably put some numbers in. Let's go with let's make this one go up. Let's say 3, 6, 9, 12. Okay? So, same idea. First, get the difference. So in this case, my difference happens to be 3, 6, 9, 12. Hopefully you saw I was just adding 3 each time. Difference is positive 3. Okay? After that, same steps. Second step was to pick any n and the function value that went with it. Right? Any n and its f of n. So you can pick any one of these in general. I'm going to tell you, if you pick 0 and 6, it's really easy. If I pick 1 and 9, it's really easy. The reason is you have to multiply by this n, and it's really easy to multiply by these numbers. I'm going to pick 2 and 12 just to show you the algebraic steps anyway, but I'm going to tell you 0 and 1 would be easier. Okay? So if I pick 2 because I forgot that it was easy to use these ones, n's 2, so f of n is right below it, is 12. Alright? So step 3, I said use that equation I gave you. So it's function, I'll write the equation again, f of n equals the difference times n plus c. So we're going to plug our values in. F of n, we said f of n was 12. We said the difference was 3. We said n was 2. And then plus c. So now all we got to do is simplify this equation, solve it. So let's do any simplification we can. 3 times 2, that's 6. So this is really 12 is equal to 6 plus c. And then I want this c alone, so I have to get rid of this. In the other problem, I believe this was a negative 12, so I added 12. In this problem, this is a positive 6, so I do the opposite of positive 6. I subtract it. My 6's cancel there. 12 minus 6 is 6. There's my c. So now I've got all the parts I need to write the rule. F of n equals the difference times n. Well, my difference is 3, so this is going to say 3 times n. And then I have to add my constant, my c, so plus 6. If this was negative 6, then I would write minus 6, but since it's positive, I write it that way. I just want to make sure it works again. 3 times n plus 6, so if n is 2, that's 3 times 2, that's 6. 6 plus 6 is 12. Try for negative 1. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. Negative 3 plus 6 is positive 3. It even works for 0. And like I said, this would be easy. 3 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 6 is 6. So real quick, let's try for the 80th term. If I gave you a whole list of numbers, this is the 80th one. So 3 times n, well, n is 80 now. 3 times 80, that's 240. And 240 plus 6 is 246. That's it. That's all you really need to know about solving for the nth term. You got to write your rule, then you got to plug in your n into your rule. And that'll do it for you. Okay?